This is true. Bloopers are part of it. So I guess I'll start by saying hi. I'm Leah, but we're at our studio downtown called Your Inner Yogi, and this is something that I've talked about a lot of my friends and stuff. You guys probably already know that I want to start a website and podcast and have conversations with really amazing, interesting people. And today we just decided, well, it's kind of decided probably for us that this is going to be how it starts. So I get to hang out with my friend Lolita and have a conversation about what she has going on in her life. So we were doing a workshop here today about the Solfeggio Tones.
Solfeggio.
Solfeggio.
Solfeggio. It has to be a very soft F sound, as I understand. Solfeggio.
I like it. And she's going to talk to us about what those are, what her research and life path has brought her to in bringing this information to everyone. We didn't have anybody sign up, but we had some pretty crazy weather here this weekend. So, but it kind of all happens. So now we're here. We get to have a conversation and share it with you guys. So you want to start off by just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I said my name is Lolita Kuyper, and I've had a very interesting path in my life that brought me where I am right now, because I was an ordinary person, as we will find out. Most people that start out are just more ordinary people until there's something that happens in their life that changes them and brings them on board with whatever our divine purpose is. And I've had some series of unfortunate incidents that actually worked out in my favor, because I started asking and questioning God, okay, why is all these things happening to me, and where's this peace that passes all understanding? And I have found out that when you ask that question, basically, God, however you perceive him, her, whatever to be, says, okay, you asked the right question, and I'll start presenting you with things that will help you to understand why you're here. And so just uttering those words, not being angry, well, I was angry, but not being insulting, and he didn't take it as such, I started meeting some interesting people. I was drawn to certain books to read, and it became a fascinating journey for me. It's like I was a kid in a candy store, you know. It's like, oh my gosh, what's this about? Well, let me go down this path and learn about this and learn about that. And the more that I was open, because you have to basically be open to these things, the more that was being presented to me as I was ready.
Yeah.
The old saying, I believe it's Japanese or Chinese, I don't know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah, that's like an ancient proverb.
You're right.
Chinese or Japanese or whatever, they hear that all the time.
Yes.
And that's like how this whole thing started. Like anybody that's watching this and stuff knows that I just want to have a conversation because I'm an absolutely crazy person. I love studying things, I like learning things. Kid and candy store, absolutely. And now I'm a librarian for mags, and they gave me a huge library of like 6 rolling cabinets of books. It's like a plethora of information that is old and nobody's even read these books. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. So like all these things, I'm like, okay, well, I want to share this information. I want to just talk to people that I know that I've met. You know, you meet these interesting people on your journey and stuff. And I mean, I've known you now for, I don't know, a few months, maybe like, how long, 5 or 6 months maybe?
Yeah, something like that. We met at actually, I think we met at a workshop or activity, something.
Yeah, it was at the Turtle House, which is super cool if you guys want to follow her on Facebook. She's the Turtle House, but she has workshops and stuff, but really cool stuff, like those more, you know, and that's where I'm at with it is, I'm not one of those traditional people, okay, yeah, sure, I'm a yoga teacher, this is a yoga studio, but I'm not one of those woo-woo type of individuals. I like this information, I think it's amazing, but I have a science degree. I scientifically have been studying the more metaphysical stuff for about 5 or 6 years now, and I started studying it initially just to actually just prove it. My dad's a pastor. So when it comes to like tarot cards and crystals and all these things, I'm a geologist too. So rocks and stones and crystals, I got people that are like, oh, these things have powers. And initially I'm like, whatever, you know? And then so I started studying this stuff in order to disprove it and be like, nope, God is the only way and none of this stuff actually makes sense and blah, blah, blah. And then through all my research and everything, I can only confirm things. I can't disprove anything. And then it all starts to line up and add in all these things. And I'm like, okay, so what's this? And then it just keeps leading me down this path and all these things. So same thing with what you've got going on with the Solfeggio Tones. Is that say right?
Yes.
Pronunciation's so hard. There's a lot of hard words.
All about the words, yes.
Yes, yes. But so tell us a little bit what that is.
Well, solfeggios are actually very ancient tones, frequencies, that predates anything basically that would even be written. It is said that these tones, these frequencies are the sounds of creation. This is what called all things to order. When God said in Genesis, let there be light, and there was light, he intonated. You know he doesn't talk verbally because it's a power, it's an energy. That's all God is a power. Mm-hmm. So it was a frequency that was uttered or sounded, and things came into being.
That kind of gives me this whole other idea of the Big Bang, because it's a sound and constantly resonates. I'm like, well, maybe they were on the little something, but they didn't quite know what that was. Maybe, I don't know. It's just my analytical brain going crazy.
Yes, yes. So you tell me you're a Capricorn, you're like me. We do have that left brain thing going too, but it first kind of picked up, I guess, historically, and you really have to know how to look for these things, but King David penned the Psalms from the Old Testament, utilizing these frequencies. He was attuned, I'm going to say, stick my neck down on the line because this is what I've heard, that he was a bit of a mystic anyway.
Yeah, I've read a lot of stuff recently about a lot of the biblical characters that we know from the Bible. We just know like this much, and I mean, the Bible itself has been rewritten so many times in different languages, and that's a whole nother tangent.
Yes.
Anybody that knows me knows that tangent exists. But yeah, and there's a lot like Elijah and prophets, all this more mystical, like Christian mysticism type of thing.
That's where your mystery schools actually originate from. It's these mysteries that originated from the beginning of time that they were able to tap into. And basically King David took these sounds, these tones, and when he wrote the Psalms, these became the first form of Christian music. And he had, and most people who are familiar with the Old Testament knew that King David had a little, what we call harp, but it was called a kinnor. And he kept it by his side all the time, even went into battle with it. That never left his side. Why? Because he was utilizing the sounds. And it created certain situations everywhere he went. It is said that when he did that, in the presence of a great king, that it created peace throughout that kingdom. And he created these worship services utilizing these tones. And what happened was that, and they had to be very certain ways. He was very regimental about this for a very certain reason. Certain priests had to be in attendance, certain instruments, certain times of the day, all these things were taking place. And it would create miracles in this area, just in this little arena where they were. Great peace would ensue, like just a very beautiful, blissful feeling.
Yeah.
Chaos, war, pestilence, all those things that they talk about in the Bible can exist outside. But right there, it was peace. Mm-hmm. There was like rapturous weeping, joy. And the most amazing thing was they felt that bridge between heaven and earth, the door of heaven opening up. God was there in their presence. I mean, it was like they could feel it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I feel like I feel like I've had experiences of it emulate that. I mean, I go to live concerts all the time. I love music. I mean, even my yoga classes and stuff, I teach yoga to heavy metal rock and roll music, and people hear that and they're like, they don't even really associate that with being like beautiful music, but oh my gosh, there are some bands and stuff that it's so melodic, and I mean, sure, maybe one song is like heavy and hard and amazing, but there's so much of power within music, whether it's rock and roll, whether it's blues, whether it's pop or whatever. Sure, there's some crap out there, there's a lot of crap out there, but I think we can all say that there's something powerful in music and sound that, I mean, you might hear this one lyric, you might hear a sound, you might hear a guitar riff. For me, there's some that just like raptured through me, and it's this amazing power of music. And it's like there's something a little more with that, with the sound, with the music, with everything, and that makes perfect sense. I have a really random question. King David, is that the same David that killed Goliath?
I believe it is. I believe so.
Yeah. I feel like really bad that I don't know that right now, but
yes, I'm pretty sure I heard it just recently that it was basically the same one.
And that's how he got
king.
his kingdom, because he killed Goliath, and that was the price for killing Goliath was to be married to the king's daughter. I forget her name, but that was like the prize of just defeating the Philistines, defeating their champion or whatever. And like David didn't want anything. He just wanted the Philistines to go away from his people. And he was a shepherd, and his brothers were fighting in that war. But they speak of how he used to play music to his sheep. But he would like hang out and just play music for them. And I think he was, because he was mocked and ridiculed and stuff in the Bible, and you hear the stories and stuff by his brothers and stuff, like, oh, David, go back to the sheep. Go play your music. Go play your good music for the sheep. This is not your battle. And because he was tiny, he was worthless, all those things. And that's why I started studying that one, because geologists study the rocks and stones and crystals. That's what kind of started that whole thing. So in the Bible story, it talks about how God told him to go and gather these very specific stones, very specific size. But it doesn't specify in the Bible stories that we have what those stones were. So that's a personal thing. I want to find out what specific stones, because I'm just curious. I want to know if it correlates with something. But being that same David, and now he gets to this, so he's always had that musical, and that God speaking through him and to him and put him in these places to like test him, and then brought him to that. And then he's creating music and like creating these miracles and stuff. And it's interesting that's the same person. It was just a random question.
Yeah. Well, I guess the clue was that he played music.
Yeah, that's how
even to his sheep. So there's a connection that he had with music, even as a child or a young man or a little boy, whatever. And like I said, I believe that there was, as you said, a direct connection with God that was giving him the information about how to utilize these different tones and create his worship services from them. Mm-hmm. And without going into a whole lot of detail, because this is part of the workshop, it was carried on for centuries until there came a time where this came to an end. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody was very jealous. They said, no, we can't have this. Everything, if it's out of the norm, it is considered blasphemous.
Right.
And
oh yeah, there's so much of that. Like, I mean, especially with what I'm researching and stuff, and it's a constant thing, especially with my family being very involved in the church and stuff. I'm very cautious about saying, oh, I like studying tarot cards and crystals and magic and history, and I mean all these like woo crazy stuff. And then, because it's like, oh, that's immediately so. I mean, even whenever I first, like, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to do anything yoga. Like, it was evil. It was a different religion. Meditation was evil. It allowed your mind to be clear so the enemy could get in. But there's like so many like things that were just hatched down on this stuff. And I mean, I was the one that was always interested, like asking questions, like, well, why? Why do we not do this? Why am I not allowed? Why? And then the answer was always like, just forget it. Stop asking so many questions. I refuse. I ask way too many questions. Anybody that knows me knows it. It's like, well, just stop it. But I just had to know. But I mean, it's been hampered down for so very long. I mean, starting in the ancient times of all of it. And then you've got all the persecution of the church and all that stuff. It's like, well, why were you persecuting the church and stuff for so long? And we always feel like, oh, it's just, we as in like the church that exists now. It's always like, when I go to church services, we were persecuted because we were the only ones that have the way, the truth, and life and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that there's more to it. There is a stronger thing that Christianity and that tie to God and like all that, religion in itself, all of them, because I feel like they're all branches of kind of that same truth. There's definitely a harder reason why there's so much persecution. What exactly that is, I doubt we'll ever know the true answer of that. I'm hoping that I find it in some research. That'd be great.
I think it's because basically when people approach a certain truth that the elite have knowledge of,
Yes.
then the hammer comes down.
Yeah, because there's like a control factor.
It is very much a
Financial,
control factor.
greed,
Yes.
all of those very humanistic tendencies that, everybody encounters in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, that steps in and it's like, nope, we're gonna just cut that off. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, so one of the things that I actually talk about during my workshop is about Bible codes. And this is where you had certain people, prestige, think rabbis or something like that, that had knowledge of things. And in order to keep this knowledge from the general populace, who has to keep dumbed down, they encoded it in certain ancient manuscripts. And this is where a lot of this knowledge about these Solfeggio tones come from, is that they were able to uncover it through codes. The Pythagorean scheme being one of them. But yes, generally only, back even then you would call them secret societies. They were very good about encoding the Bible along with other manuscripts of that day. And then there is actually another one that I will surprise people with in my workshops. Something that we use quite often today actually has encoded information in there. And it blew my mind when I found out that. But yeah, it was by somebody that was a member of the secret society as well.
That's one of those really intriguing things for me is the Masons.
Yes.
All those crazy secrets and stuff. 'Cause I don't like secrets. I want to know everything.
Yes.
So that's always one of those things I was like really intrigued about. So I'm hoping one day I'm able to like sit down with a Mason that wants to tell me secrets. But maybe that'll be in the future. I don't know. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff that even in my research stuff I keep coming across. Or things that are written in a very fictional storybook way. I love to read. I read crazy stuff all the time, fiction and nonfiction. But I came across or have been given these books that are written in a fictional way. However, when you read between the lines, and it's like I feel like if I read it, I'm like, surely nobody can like not miss this. Like you see this too, right? Like there's some information here. You get this, right? And it's like, I don't feel like everybody does. Like, I feel like people read stuff and it's like, oh, it's just a story. It's like, but you don't see this and this and this and this. Like, I don't get it. But there's been a few things that I've read very even recently that is like mind-blowing on the informational level. And I'm like, there's a lot of truth in here actually. But I don't know, I guess maybe it's just the very beginning level of that information and like sharing that information, because you can't like throw stuff at people and because it's a belief factor, like, and that's where a lot of the benefits of these more metaphysical healing aspects, these alternative therapies and stuff. People like to say, oh, well, it's just the placebo effect. Well, what's that then? Because if it works, then what's that? Because there's a lot of research done. There's like a guy that was on an interview I was listening to and talking about the placebo effect and how he studies it in sports medicine and how like giving these athletes placebo or real performance enhancing I don't know, vitamins and stuff, like lots of different levels, and they check like a bajillion hormone levels. They've been doing it for 4-something years, and they noticed actual differences within the body, like hormone secretion, whatever it is, that promotes this, burst of energy, of running faster, whatever it is in sports, but they're on the placebo. And then so they've been diving into discovery, uncovering like the placebo effect, how that works. And they're really all just coming down to it's just the belief of it. So that's one of those things is like you can't just throw information at somebody. Like I can tell you that, yoga is great for you. It helps your back problem. Like I have back problems, arthritis, all this stuff, and everything's like helped me. But telling even in a class or something, I'm like sharing this information about just visualizing your breath in a specific area and imagining your breath opening those passageways and stuff. It's like a belief factor. Like if you can actually visualize it in your mind and you're like breathing into your back or whatever, like what people would say in these classes, it's like, okay, but that actually does have an effect. That actually does work, and it is scientifically proven that it works. It increases your circulation and stuff there, but it's all just mental and belief. So my ear is ringing so hard right now. FYI.
Well, I wanted to mention also that I had heard this before, that if you envision something in your mind, like suppose you're paralyzed or you're not able to dance or whatever. If you see in your mind and you have a powerful vision of yourself dancing like you used to do or like you would like to do, your mind processes that as if you are actually doing it. Your mind does not know the difference between your visually seeing this and you're actually doing it. Because the information is still being processed the same, whether you're actually moving yourself or you're visualizing yourself doing that. Everything, your brain is processing this as if you are actually doing it.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And that actually makes a whole lot of sense too, because I was in nursing school for a while, so if somebody was paralyzed or maybe we like numbed an area or something and you have them like wiggle their toes and stuff, you can't see your foot, but you're mentally visualizing it and you might move or not. But even when they're like trying to see like people that are paralyzed or in coma or something and they're coming back and seeing what they can move or what they can't move or something. Like I wonder if that doesn't go hand in hand with that, because it's the more and more that they try that and see if they can move something or whatever, or have them imagine that they're moving their foot or something and then eventually do. Mm-hmm. It happens all the time. Mm-hmm. That's intriguing.
Yes.
Note that, research later.
Right. If you put it out there visually, and they say also the emotions have to go into play with this, because I heard about the law of attraction and everything. They said, well, the thing that really motivates and causes things to happen is the feeling like it's happening right now. You're placing yourself into it, you put your emotions into it, your passion into it, and that's what starts the process of the manifestation. And so those patients that you're saying about, as long as they keep visualizing what's happening and they see it as already done.
That's hard.
I know, it's very hard. I have heard of people that actually have healed themselves that way.
Yeah, I come across lots of stories about this stuff all the time, and again, I'm not one of those woo-woo believers of that kind of stuff, but I'm kind of like at that point where I'm being forced to believe it, because the belief is the activity. Like you have to believe it on some level, or you can even do any type of research on it. Because, like science person, the act of measuring a particle changes it. So if you're measuring something and it changes it, you can't observe it in its natural state, because you're going to screw with it. You're going to change that particle in some way, shape, or form just by your intent to measure it, which messes with, I'm trying to avoid my language because I'll get really passionate about it. And like, it messes with it on so many levels, and science people, physics people are like, have no explanation for it.
No.
And I mean, it was only this time last year that LIGO down in Louisiana discovered that dip in the time-space continuum that confirmed Einstein's theory of relativity. That just now happened. So physicals, we know it doesn't really exist anymore. So whenever you're talking about like that belief factor, you have to, like, that's why it's so hard for scientists to study this kind of thing, because it's either science or religion. There's no
gray area.
You have to have both. In my opinion, you have to have both. And that's where you get the truth. You get those alchemists, you get the mystics and all those things. It's all science and belief. And you have to have that belief. And that's so hard because if you like try to visualize seeing it as it really is and believing that it's going to happen and stuff, that goes against like human nature. That goes against everything. Like, no, this is what my reality is right now. This is all it's going to be. And I mean, people get stuck in those ruts of just, oh, this is it. This is what my life is. They just resign themselves to it. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. This is how human life's supposed to be. And it's not. There's so much more. And that's where I'm at with this, is like kind of trying to show you, like, there's a whole lot you get to do with your existence here. It doesn't have to be that believing what you're given thing. No, believe it up here and then see it happen. Because that's even what God tells us to do. So talking to my religious people that are super against all of the metaphysical and stuff, I'm like, no. Goes hand in hand. Yep, like metaphysics, science, religion. I feel like all that goes all in together.
And then when you have these strange experiences that kind of goes outside of your system, your paradigm that you're used to, that all there is right in front of you, you have these unexplained things that happen to you. And that is where my passion has picked up on, where I just thought, what I'm doing day to day is all there is that I'm supposed to do. Yeah, this is interesting topics that I'm learning about, but I really hadn't found my divine purpose until, and the universe has this way of doing it on their timely manner, because there is a certain time when you're ready for something to happen. And one of the things I like to do outside of my normal day-to-day job, which is usually that, but the little thing, this is I love doing, is watching people's cats for them when they go out of town, which is really rather enjoyable for me. And people really assume that your cats are very aloof. They really don't need any company. Nothing could be further from the truth, because they really like cat companionship. And I have known of cats that actually get into trouble when mommy and daddy is gone.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yes, they decided to take a little corner over there, and just to show their displeasure. You're gonna leave me fine. But anyway, and so I've been cat sitting for people, and they kind of enjoy me actually staying there versus me just coming in there and cleaning out the pig box and whatever, And one particular friend of mine, she had 3 cats at the time. She was leaving to go somewhere during Mother's Day weekend. She was going to be gone for about a week. And Mother's Day was kind of tough for me because I had a lot of stuff that, unfortunate things that happened, estrangement of family and such. That Mother's Day was very tough for me. And she had something on the counter for me when I got there. She had already left out of town and everything. And she said, I know that you're kind of going through a little bit of an ink in your life right now, but I had just ordered these CDs, and they just come in. I've got a couple of CDs in the CD changer. Just go ahead and feel free to listen to them. And I looked at this package on her counter that was called Whole Tones, and it's by an artist named Michael Terrell. And in looking at the cover of this, it was like 7 CDs within this thing. There's a packet. I don't know what happened, but basically I felt this very strong magnetic pull to this. There's a beautiful color. It's like an aurora borealis, or how do you say it on there? Yeah, the northern lights. Hey, that's a lot easier to say. Okay, that's smaller.
English helps a little.
Yeah, it does.
Aurora borealis.
Yeah, that's a little fancy word. But anyway, I saw that. I thought, oh, this is beautiful. And then I saw this symbolic, what was a symbol, some kind of symbol on there. And I said, this is kind of like sacred geometry, but not. And I got real excited about it. And before I even listened to the music, I took this, and it had a booklet that went with it, and I read the book. And I felt like, I know this stuff. I literally resonated with it because that's the basis of what this is resonant frequencies anyway. And I thought, this is just really awesome. And the more I read, the more I got into it. And oh yeah, the CDs, let me listen to that too. I thought it was the cherry on top. I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I couldn't tell you if maybe I was associated with this once upon a time. Perhaps I knew about this in another time. But anyway, my excitement led to talking with these ladies that had like a wellness counseling center. And they also did some alternative methods of healing as well, emotional release, things like that. And when I told them, they could hear that passion in my voice, how excited I got about this. And then Mary says, well, you need to do workshops. Do what? What'd you say? Workshops? Yes. She said, I think you found your calling. She said, it's just
always like, oh, I don't know.
It's just like oozing and flowing out of you. And I'm okay. As I mentioned to you before, I do have Aries rising and Aries moon sign. So, and they are known as the daredevils, the risk takers. And so I said, why not? And I began doing some research on the subject of Solfeggio Tones. And then I had some interesting synchronicities come my way where things sort of appeared. Certain people came into my life that was saying, oh, by the way, did you know about this, this, this? And I'm thinking, well, I can add this too. And next thing I know, I am very comfortably giving these presentations.
Yeah.
The fact that I was an actress at one time helps a lot because you feel more comfortable in front of crowds and stuff like that when you've got that kind of background. But it is amazing how the universe has opened up and sent things to me literally to help enhance the workshops. And I feel like, yes, okay, I've got my life totally here now. And when I do these presentations, people walk away with, wow, we did not know all about that. They may have worked with solfeggios as the tuning forks or something of that nature, but they had no idea of the history behind it.
Yeah, that's what piqued my interest. It's like, because I hear about healing frequencies, healing sounds and stuff, even scientifically and stuff, because they've got like, now, because I had cancer as a kid, so I love looking at these new therapies that are coming out for cancers and tumors and stuff like that, and there's specific frequencies that they can come through, like ultrasound or whatever, well, even, not even cancer stuff, but breaking up kidney stones using frequencies and sounds.
Yeah, perfect.
And even now they're doing tumors and destroying cancer cells and stuff with sounds and everything. So that's where I'm like, oh, history of sounds and stuff on this other level, other than just these, low resonating tones that can break up kidney stones and stuff. But that being on that same, it's the same platform, but now the history of it, and then taking that even further than what science and stuff is comfortable or able to do now, that's what got me all super crazy excited about it. So, yes, I need to make this kind of stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, you want to know, well, where did this originate? What was in the beginning? Once upon a time.
Right.
How did it start? And so that kind of fills in the blanks. And as you said, science has actually been picking up on this, which kind of goes outside. This is more like fringe almost for them.
Yeah,
it's like I said,
a lot of this stuff.
They're used to certain, protocols for doing things, and we're talking about
they can't track the, specifics of it. It's like, I don't know about that. Like, but that's where you get the fringe. But I feel like the fringe is where it's at.
Yeah.
So.
And 528 was probably the most studied of the tones because it has been proven.
528.
The 528 hertz. Okay. 528 hertz, because that's what I'm dealing with. The different hertzes, cycles per second, whatever they call it. And they have discovered that 528 hertz actually repairs broken DNA.
Oh, whoa, that's crazy.
Which is the source of all disease. We have DNA that's messed up or whatever. It actually repairs it, restores it. And there have been also studies on the telomere length, the end caps of your DNA. And I'm also understanding that they are trying to apply it now towards stem cell research.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. So my whole podcast idea, the Joe Rogan podcast that I listened to for years, and it really gave me that very first one I listened to was just like, oh crap, like this is kind of what I need to do. Is that like, oh, is this your calling thing? And I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna be in front of the camera talking to people. But he talked even recently. He had somebody on there who studies stem cell research in Memphis, and they the guy that he was talking to said that he's working close in hand with somebody that's here in Memphis. I don't even know the person, but studying about how injecting just stem cells from not dead babies and stuff, but from the umbilical cord or placenta or something like that, or even I think your body even has stem cells that it produces so that you can use it for yourself. But I gotta look into that. I don't know the specifics about it. But about injecting them into joints, and Joe Rogan did it to his shoulder, and he talks about that all the time, how it just changed everything and fixed it. I have arthritis in my knees, I have back problems and all this stuff, so I'm very intrigued like this, because I'm supposed to, my doctors years ago wanted me to be on Lortabs every day, on all this medication stuff. I refuse. I had cancer as a kid. I have all sorts of chemicals come through my body. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do the chemical thing. So this stuff blows my mind. So when it comes to stem cells and that being that basis of your DNA stuff, and then these sounds and stuff that correlate with DNA reproduction and stuff, I just heard about that kind of stuff. I was like, oh wow, synchronicity,
Yeah. And when you mentioned about your back giving you problems, okay, I have actually shifted between two different chiropractors, and the Memphis area of Atoka. And while I like the one in Memphis, so both of them utilize different, protocols for healing and everything. What I liked about the one in Atoka is that, and it's a little Oriental gal, they know everything about the meridians and energy pathways and stuff like that. And she was, and I cannot utilize, because mine came from a car accident, and so my back's very weak. And so they can't use hand manipulations on it. They have to use what's called an activator. It's kind of like a little gun thing, and it delivers the same impact pressure-wise, time-wise, as if they would use their hands. And this little gal, she was working on me, and you kind of think that she's just going to go up and down the spine. Well, what she was doing was she was injecting me here, there, and everywhere in places. I'm like, no, you on my knee, but everything is connected, as they said. And then what she would do is she said, okay, I'm going to send you back to the ultrasound room. And first of all, I'm thinking, isn't that what they do with?
It's I'm not pregnant.
I don't want any radiation things going on either,
Yeah.
So I'm a little against that kind of stuff. But what it is and I'm not sure, because I haven't actually watched them doing it behind me, but they take this little device, and I always have them use that icy hot stuff on there, and they run it across those areas where I've had the most problems, which is usually around the neck area and down here. And my understanding is that, and it's time to let you know when to turn this thing off or whatever, what it does is it breaks up the inflammation. And it causes it to somehow allow your body to excrete it. And so you're actually healing faster. The inflammation is going, and to be honest with you, after I get done with this, I really still feel kind of rough.
Yeah.
But later on, it's like, oh, wow, this stuff really works. So ultrasound basically is a frequency too. We're talking about frequency medicine.
Right.
This little guy that I'm talking about, Michael Terrell, learned about this as well. When he kind of went down, he called it the rabbit hole, because it seems like
I call mine rabbit hole.
rabbit hole.
It's gonna be like rabbit hole.
He kept meeting these people synchronicity-wise, and we know the universe is leading him to these places, where he would run into these people that studied resonant frequencies and the amazing protocols for healing that they would do. One guy actually received this large grant just to do that. But he was finding out how even ozone can eradicate parasites, because he had a parasite. He found out how your voice, just the frequencies in your voice, can detect things like allergies, past illnesses, vitamin and mineral deficiencies. All that's contained in your voice when you talk. Of course, you notice when people are ill or when they're elderly, how their voice becomes very gravelly.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on with those people because they are very much at close to the end.
Yeah, they're
Very sick. Yeah.
That's an interesting concept. I
Yeah.
never thought about that.
The Tesla quote is that is very good. He was way beyond serious, but then again, nobody accepts him because he's like, you lose stuff. No, we're not going to do this. But the Tesla quote is based on resonant frequencies too.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite types of things where people Tesla, because he was the one that discovered electricity and all these wonderful, super crazy, cool things. Nobody even knew who the heck he was until just recently. Okay, some people did, but nobody shared the information. I feel like the internet has been pivotal in being able to come to these truths and these realizations and share this information that we have in the world. And so people know about Tesla, know that he basically discovered all these things, and Thomas Edison is the one credited for it. In stories and history, whenever I was growing up and stuff, that was the multiple choice answer that you would get correct, is Thomas Edison is the one that discovered electricity and invented the first light bulb and all that. However, they don't say, it was Tesla, but Tesla's model allowed it to be free, reproducing itself. It would have been massive. It would change the world, and the world as it exists now would be completely different if all of us had free electricity. But then that greed factor, the control factor, all that stuff stepped in, tamps it down. No, we can't charge people for this. We're not going to benefit, so let's do it this way. Which is so gross, and it happens so much in so many different ways. It's really baffling, but that's just another of my soapbox types of things. It's so frustrating.
And you'll find these people that came in, and this is what I've heard, that these people came in with a certain mission, obviously, that they were trying to fulfill, and they were way ahead of their years, way ahead of their time. We think of Einstein as well, where they came up with something, and we know that they were actually tapping in to a source. They said Einstein slept, took naps, perfect. Tesla did the same thing. So he brought in this technology, this new way of life that people were not ready for. Mm-hmm. And so unfairly, as we feel, the funding or the support was withdrawn from them, and they literally died penniless, broke, depressed, thinking, well, that's it. Of course, now we are taking that information and we're utilizing it now.
Still broken, penniless.
Unfortunately, it's like, you get the recognition post-mortem now, but
which is kind of endearing, and it's not all for naught, but
they made their mark. They did what they were supposed to do. They just didn't get the glory.
Right. And it's also one of those things. I don't think you're going to get the glory. If you're one of those people that does, I feel like the people that are going to change the world and do all these amazing things aren't in it to get the glory of it. They just want to help. And that's, sure, these people would love to have the glory. And I think even they kind of, dabbled with that when they did start getting famous and getting more following of people that, knew about their concepts and stuff. Einstein too. But a lot of times it was very much like, no, this isn't about me. This is about the information. And then you've got the people the people that just decided to run the world, I guess. They come in and it's like, they want the glory, they want their name on everything, they want the money for it, they want, it's mine. And it's like the people that have the true type of stuff, the helpful stuff and everything, it's like, no, this isn't mine. This is from God, or, it was given to me to give to you guys. And that's just part of it, of the journey. Maybe the people that have the truth and want to help people and stuff will wind up being amazingly rich and beneficial and all these things. And how about the whole believing it? I see it happen. I'm super rich. I'm a millionaire. I'm going to help change the world kind of thing. But it just seems like that shouldn't be the goal. That's obviously not the focus. That's not my focus. And I don't think it's your focus either. It's not
no. And even if I did make the money, I would like to funnel it back to help people, because these people came in service to other people. It's not service to self, but service to others.
Exactly.
And my focus, not so much to get the fame and the glory either, but I'm walking on territory that has not really been explored much.
Right.
It's like a pioneer working on a subject, and it's very difficult because I'm finding a lot of people are not open to it. They have no clue what it is, which of course, before I saw those CDs on my friend's counter, I didn't know what Solfeggio Tones were either.
Right.
But when you would say, okay, well, do you know what Gregorian chants are? Because the ancient monks.
My mom even this morning was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing the Gregorian chants.
Yeah.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people know that, and there are people that don't even know what that is. Okay, let's start with square one, the very basics, in the beginning, yes. So that's where I am having a lot of difficulties, is working outside that paradigm that everybody is used to. We know about this over here with, this kind of method of healing, this, this whatever it is, metaphysical over here. Solfeggio Tones, I'm not real sure about that. Let me focus back over here.
Yeah.
But they realize just how powerful, how amazing that these tones really and truly are and the impact they have. Michael Terrell talks about how he has witnessed spontaneous healings.
Right.
He would do concerts because he was a contemporary Christian artist, the kind of music that you hear.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, that's it, yeah.
And when he do these concerts, and of course, unfortunately, the book that I read did not tell you exactly which frequency it was, but his own mother was healed of cancer using something that he played on his guitar, because he played guitar. At another concert, this little gal, she had Crohn's disease. He played his guitar over her, and she was instantly healed. She could feel that shift within her. She knew something that took place in her body. And his website has other testimonies on there. I have a testimony of my own.
Same here. Yeah.
I have a testimony of my own. One of the frequencies that he speaks of are the six sacred tones, the basis, the primary tones, we'll say, because there's way more tones.
Oh, right.
But one of them is the 741 hertz. And according to Michael, this addresses bacterial, fungal, and viral infections. And I was scheduled to do a workshop. It was in April, about a year or two ago, something like that. And this was going on all around the metro area where I was living, and I'm sure a lot of other places were experiencing this terrible virus. I mean, it would just knock you flat, and it took forever to get over. Yes, I did too, but anyway, just 2 weeks out from when I was supposed to do, or actually I think it was less time than that, when I was supposed to do this workshop, I started coming down with it. First thing I noticed was laryngitis. Now, that's not something that anybody that's a speaker can deal with, because, that will sideline you in an instant. Then the upper respiratory stuff started sneaking in too, and I felt like crap. Literally just blah. And I'm thinking, no, this cannot happen, Sometimes I can just kind of talk my way out of it, Like you said, the belief system, you can tell you it's programmed. It's like reprogramming yourself. Okay, the virus is not with me. No, I am healthy. No, this was a strong virus.
I've tried to talk myself out of it so many times.
The pep talk was not working this time. And so, and actually, Mary said, we could reschedule this out. I said, you know how many circulars I have out, how many announcements I have out. You've got it, you have it on your website. People will show up, and the place will be dark. Nobody's at home. How would this look for me? Not good. So I happened to remember that 741 hertz, and I put that in my CD player, and I hit the repeat button, and I played that rascal over and over and over again. My husband was going, "Is there another channel by any chance?" And now, dude, look at all these CDs I have over here. Deal with it, sweetheart.
We're gonna try this.
Yeah. Well, amazingly, within a very short time,
Like how short?
gosh, I'm going to say within a day,
Okay.
the laryngitis broke up completely.
That's phenomenal, because even if you're taking medicine and stuff, like if you have a sore throat or a cough or drainage, all that nastiness and stuff, that even after you're better, that part doesn't clear up for like a few days. You're
Yes,
still hopping up nasty stuff and it hurts or whatever.
right. You're still a little bit on the raspy side.
Yeah.
But like I said, that seemed to break up just almost instantaneously with me. And then I started noticing that the upper respiratory part was beginning to clear up. It took maybe just a little bit longer, 2 days or so. But by the time that my workshop was rolling around, I was completely clear. I had energy. I just went in there and I started just passionately talking about my workshop, And, I mean, I was not, and you know how when you're hit with the virus, the fatigue is one of the worst things, and it takes forever to get over. But it's just like I was pumped up. I could just give that thing all day if I wanted to, And nobody had any clue that I was sick at all.
That's really cool. And I mean, so hearing a story like that, you'll have the rational people be like, oh, well, that was just perfect timing for you to do that. You were already getting better and all that stuff. I'm like, sure, yeah, maybe. But then again, this could have worked. Like, why do you have to throw in the rational? Like, it becomes that placebo. People be like, oh, it was placebo effect. You believed it happened. Yeah, sure, maybe, but it still worked. And it's like that's where we need to keep studying, we keep researching and figuring this out. Because it works on whatever level that it works, it worked.
Exactly.
So let's find out what it is. And that's why I was like super pumped to be able to like, first of all, when I first met you in that first conversation we had, I'm like, yep, this is awesome. Because we dived and talked for a while, and it was like the most serendipitous type of random conversation, even our phone conversation stuff, like, it's always wild. And that's what with, today's workshop and stuff, everything kind of happened to where we weren't able to like have the actual workshop. Granted, I'm probably still learning things, but until you come to the workshop.
Yes.
But we're able to like sit down and have this conversation, and you talking so passionately about what you're doing with your life is so inspiring for me, because like okay, this is the first time I've recorded me having a conversation with somebody. And I have these types of conversations, how you said that things show up, things happen, and these people you wind up meeting and talking to, that happens all the time. And it's always because I'm so curious and I'm looking into all these fringe type of ideas and studying and researching and all these things, that I come across all these people. And I know that what I'm supposed to do is to share this information, because my conversations, I wish that everybody could hear all of some of these conversations. I mean, people that I like are my friends and we hang out and we talk have always been like I've even got a friend that she's got some of our stuff recorded, because we'll just like go down these rabbit hole tangents, and it's amazing. And I'm like, okay, well, this takes me out of my comfort zone. How you talk about the comfort zone level of, oh, I'm going to be in workshops, what? Like, I like to talk to people. Absolutely. I don't like pictures of myself. I don't like videos of myself. I don't like to just put myself out there kind of thing. And so it's like, oh, well, all these things, we're just going to like test it out and try it. So everything happens the way it's supposed to. And then with these types of conversations, I can't wait to be able to have these people talking about these things, because that is your passion, that is your purpose, that is your area of expertise and continuing future expertise in. And it goes so hand in hand with everything else. Like all the stuff that I study as a yoga teacher, as a scientist, as a geologist, as a music lover, all of it goes hand in hand. And it's just, I want to see all these pieces fit together, because I don't know how they're going to fit together, but it's a really cool puzzle.
And just allowing yourself to be open to these things.
Yes.
Because you have to have that door open.
Yeah.
For this information to come through. When they see that you're willing, they say, okay, this is the perfect candidate to carry out whatever their plan is. And we already designed this on the other side before we came here. I mean, there are certain openings, certain opportunities where this stuff can come to fruition, but you have to be open to it. Mm-hmm. And so when the door opens, you take advantage of it like I did. And I am one of those people, you saw what my car looks like. I'm not
People know
afraid.
my car.
I am not afraid to put myself out there. I have got my stickers and all this other stuff on my car that's just very out there. It's like one particular sticker I absolutely love. And anybody that knows Jimi Hendrix, you may or may not realize this guy was very.
That guitar. Oh,
He was very philosophical too.
Yeah,
I heard this saying before, and I saw it on a bumper with somebody else's car. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. I had no clue he said that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I knew he did it. I love it.
And so that's the kind of stuff I have on my car, little things like that. And so it's like I am letting people know this is what really is out there. This is the truth, This is the messages that I want to impart to people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like that kind of mentality that I've had where I am not afraid versus you. I want to get out there and talk about it.
Good. Somebody's got to be cool with it.
I wear this funky jewelry all the time, and I can guarantee you that some of my customers are hardcore Southern Baptists and they never say one word to me. They don't ask me anything about my car.
Yeah.
It's like they accept me who I am, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's new to me, like being accepted for who I am, because I feel like my whole life I've had to like just put on this face and be this person, and I'm never really able to show who I really am, or I'm afraid to. That's probably my own self being afraid to and like shy about it, which people that know me are like, what, you're shy? Yes. So crazy shy, like nobody actually really gets a chance to know the crazy Lolita, I guess, I don't know. But even on the level of like my parents, they only just recently came to my house to stay with me for a weekend, since I lived in my new apartment and stuff. And so I've got like all my stuff everywhere. I've got rocks and geologists. Okay, I'm allowed to have a rock collection. But like I've got this picture that is it's a temple rubbing, and I got it like at a thrift store or something, but it's legit temple rubbing, one of those random happenstance supplier things. From like, I think it's from the Philippines. And then I've got like this framed picture that me and my brother found. He found one that was really cool too out in Colorado, and it's like a woman, she's like holding the moon, and like the earth is all below her. So it's like really crazy weirdo type of decor in my house. And whenever my parents were gonna come down, because my dad's a pastor, my mom was very, they're both very like, for the longest time, like not trying to like give my mom's or my dad's stories or anything, but just for myself, like my mom was very religious for a little bit, and I got really pushed away from it and very judgy about it, and I stepped away from church and all that belief stuff, 100% science. I don't believe any of it. Me and my family did not get along. And so whenever they were going to come to my house for the first time, I'm like in my head about it. I'm like, should I like put some of this stuff away? Should I hide some of this stuff? Okay, I'm not going to lie. Like I did put some stuff away, like books or whatever that I knew would probably like, they would ask questions about. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I have these things because I'm studying it, but it's such a hard thing to get past that. And it's probably my own mental thing of like, being judged and being afraid of being judged for it. But it's also like people can't really accept some of these things because there's so many stipulations around it and stuff. And it's like, I want to break those. I want to bust through those barriers and just put it all out there. So I didn't hide much. I just like, this is my house, fam. Like this is me. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard thing. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. So baby steps, I guess.
Yeah. And my husband, it's kind of funny too, because like I said, I kind of go out there when I do things. If you were to go to my house, you're going to see all kinds of very interesting things. I've got crystals everywhere like you.
At least I have an excuse.
Yeah. Well, and I was with Max at one time too. But anyway, I also have angels, which I love angels, and I've got a very close connection with angels.
That one's easy to get around.
That's easy to get around too. But then when you start adding dragons and fairies.
My dragon ring I've worn for 6 or 7 years now. I have it on all the time. So his name is Drogon. It's a combo of Game of Thrones names. So it's like, but people see me and they're like, oh, you're just like a girl. I'm like, no, I almost used one of my words. Like, no, motherfucker, I like dragons. Like, it's a thing. People don't see that really. Sorry, dragons and
but anyway, you know, and I've got like little gargoyles and griffins and all those little mythological unicorns. I love unicorns. Yes, I've got a beautiful tapestry behind my sofa that's got a unicorn on it.
I just sent you a picture of mine. It's so cool. It's like a unicorn like rearing up, and there's like a Saturn behind it, and different castles on different You would like it.
I probably would.
I got it for $1 at the thrift store like years ago.
I love those thrift stores.
I'm so good at it.
Yeah, that's a
It's like one of those random things that I had folded up in my closet, put away for like 4 or 5 years. Like whenever Jamie and I were like at our house and stuff, like obviously I'm not gonna need to get unicorn tapestry because it's like being that whole like you're supposed to get married and have a house and it's supposed to look a certain way and that. So it sat in a closet. So now I have my own apartment and stuff, and I'm like, screw it. Like I have this unicorn thing. I think it's cool. Nobody's ever at my house. Like I'm gonna hang it up in my bedroom, and it is super cool. I'm like, why would I even have this? I'm not gonna use it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, I've left an assortment of things in my house, anywhere from Buddhas. I got tons of Buddhas in my house. Kuan Yin, she's my personal goddess because she's the goddess of mercy and compassion.
Me personally, have you talked about
No.
So I have an oracle deck that is the Kuan Yin oracle.
Oh.
You would love it. It's like how whenever because I studied like the tarot card thing, so I study like a new moon and a full moon thing, and I've been tracking it for 2 or 3 years now to mark correlations to study it. But that one showed that came to me like I used to trade rocks and crystals for reading and stuff, and people would send me things, and then I get to study it. And every time that I do one of those new moon or full moon things, when I first got that one, it was like God speaking to me through them. I mean, the words and everything, it was like, whoa, this is on a different level type. Like, this isn't just a message in a book. Like, it's a message in a book. Like, it's an interesting thing. I totally don't understand if you see it, it's just your personal one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, she follows along the lines of, you know, she's not the only one. If you go into Christianity, Mary was also the mother of compassion and mercy. And you go into other cultures like Egypt, Isis. These people just don't misconstrue things, and they've done so well. Mm-hmm. But Isis was actually the same thing. She was fertility. She was also the mother of compassion and mercy as well. So in each culture, each different way of life, they have their own.
That's why I feel like it's different interpretations of the same
different interpretations. And actually in the pagan philosophy, all gods are one God.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I mean, even in Christianity, in the Bible and stuff, I'm trying to think because I just read it. I think it's in Exodus, but they were talking about the God with many faces, like that being the one true God. Mm-hmm. And that was talking about the God that Christians follow, like God. And they were talking about how he's the God that has many faces. And I'm like, Christians, hi, do you see this?
Yeah.
Like, hello. But that's one of those things.
And then in Hinduism, they have the 3 faces of Brahman.
But then you got the 3 faces and you throw in like the Trinity, you know?
Yeah. And I also talk about that as well, because they talk about the power of the 3, the 6, and the 9s. Very powerful combination, and I didn't really understand. I mean, those some powerful words. Apparently, 3, 6, and 9 has enormous implications, but I didn't know until I ran across a snippet book by, I'm going to say he's like a quantum physicist or something like that, because his work's kind of overlooked. But his name is Stephen Lindstedt. And it just so happens, he talks about the 3s, the 6s, and the 9s. And of course, when he talks about the 3, the power behind the 3, he talks about the Trinity.
Yeah, and then the infinity symbol, the combo of the 6 and the 9 and stuff. There's a lot.
I hadn't thought about that though.
I've looked into this stuff. I'm like hanging on everything.
Yeah, I need to share all this stuff.
They're called cartoons.
Yeah, they probably will be, especially when you start going into the Bible codes. And I've told people, I said, and I delved more into this because one of the books that Michael Terrell made a reference to, and I ended up having to get it because there was only one library in this whole city that even had it, and it's not open to the public. It was a college library, and I had to actually get a membership card for that. But it's called The Healing Codes for the Biological Apocalypse, or something like that.
Ooh, I'm so intrigued.
And it's written by Leonard Horowitz and Joseph Kaleo. But I gleaned a lot of the information from the Solfeggio Tones in that, as well as the Bible codes and how all this stuff was coded in to where, only certain people had access to it. One of the amazing things that I opened my workshop with this is a beautiful video that, here again, I had a friend of mine just so happened to show this on her computer because I was trying to figure out what the Great Hymn of John the Baptist was all about. Apparently that was heavily coded. It has the missing Solfeggios embedded in that. Recently discovered, I would say within the last 10, 20 years, it was recently discovered, where it was banned by the church for so many years. They didn't want people knowing about these sacred tones or anything like that. But when she pulled this up, and I was listening to all these different great hymns of John the Baptist, which was like, just, it didn't do anything for me. It was like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. And then when she pulled up something that said 528 hertz broken DNA or something like that, DNA repair, something like that, I said, let's try that one because it talks about hertz on that one. 528 relates to that. And when she pulled up, it was this absolutely gorgeous video. And it had some words in there, and it talked about how the Solfeggios were very powerful, and that it has the ability for healing and transformation, and how the artist, whoever, utilized these. He transposed the frequency into the hymn itself, and he said it just causes, goes into the deep recesses in the mind when you actually listen to the tones, the chants, and all that. All of them combined causes the great transformation and healing in the body. And so that's why I suggested if you listen, just listen. And when I do my practice, I utilize the tones, crystals, and other things in there, but I use earplugs or, that these people, my clients, can listen to it. It's entrained so that they don't hear anything outside of themselves, right. But they are absolutely focused on these tones that are going through them. And that is how you probably are, and your body is able to accept these tones for the healing purposes.
That's awesome. I'm curious to see more information and research about that and stuff because it goes so hand in hand with a lot of the other types of stuff that I study, like even isolation techniques. You played around with that idea.
I've heard of it.
I want to float so bad. Like there's not even. I think the closest place would be like St. Louis stuff, but apparently like there's like massage envy or something that might start bringing float tanks to the mainstream world, which is kind of cool. Like really super cool. But anybody that doesn't know that's watching this, like it's like a chamber and it's like super, super salt water that is like salted to the max to where your body actually floats, start, and you're basically submerged. But I mean, obviously your face is out like you're floating in the water. So you can breathe and stuff, but then you can't hear anything because you're under the period.
Sound deprivation. Yeah.
Right. And you can actually like, through breathing techniques or being in that float state where you don't have any sensation, you feel like you're floating because the water is the same temperature as your body. And all these things, you take away all the external stimulations and distractions. People actually have very often reported being able to hallucinate, or their body just, their brain starts to hallucinate because there's no stimulation coming in, so your brain just like kind of does its own thing, which is that's a whole other thing. It's another topic that I love, and I think it's intriguing when it comes to hallucinations and what your brain can do. I mean, sleep states.
I was just fixing to say, your body.
You're hallucinating.
Because you're open. You don't have any barriers up there.
Right.
The typical things that you put up, well, your brain clicking away, your brain shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
It has no input. You're just allowed at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, there's people that, even friends of mine said they're like, well, I don't dream very much. It's like, no, probably because you're distracted as heck. Like, you either have your TV on, maybe you have to fall asleep with your TV on. And that's the distraction of that. But there's so many things that, then the ability to remember the dream when you wake up.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time. And I've been so frustrated with these lately because I've had some I know that they're super great dreams, and I know there's probably some information in there. I can't ever freaking remember it when I wake up.
Yeah, I know. They say keep a dream journal with you all the time.
Oh yeah, and I'll remember like bits and pieces that are usually pretty powerful, and I'll look up the meaning or something because I study this stuff, and it's usually on point. It's like, yeah, but what else is in there? I gotta have the dream again, but that's not really my control. It's like, yeah.
And I have actually found out that if I'm allowed to sleep long enough, that's the cure problem. If I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, forget it.
No.
But usually the last dream that you have is the most powerful one. It contains the greatest message, and you think, wow, that's the one you're going to remember.
Yeah.
And you write that
with the sleep cycle, you go in and out of that deep REM sleep, and so where you have dreams like 3 or 4 times within an 8-hour sleep cycle. I've had like some of my most vividly remembered dreams I have in a nap. Like I take like a quick 30 minutes to an hour long nap or something, or one of those power naps that you plan on doing like 20, 30 minutes, and it turns into you hitting the snooze button a few times and you sleep for 2 hours. That's some pretty crazy cool dreams and naps that I'm only sleeping long enough to have like that one dream and remember it. It's just like I'll wake up like all hot and sweaty, like it freaked me out or something, but not in a bad way. Like I haven't had nightmares in a while, but I have some pretty crazy and powerful dreams that I wake up and I'm like covered in sweat and just like,
yes.
Ooh, what was that? It's intense. And that's what trips me out. Love it.
And as I mentioned to you before, a lot of times, and I know we're going off on another tangent here, but
this is why I don't have
the dreams that you have that seem to follow a storyline, your typical dreams, they just don't make any sense. That was stupid. Why in the world was I walking upside down on the ceiling? I don't know. Right? Anyway, but the ones that seem to really have meaning to them, I've been told they are not actually dreams.
Oh yeah, I've read so much because I study this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's like, are they dreams or are they memories? There's that argument. Mm-hmm. Are they figments of your imagination? Are they put together from different movies, video games, Playbook Street, or whatever, and it fabricates a story? Yeah. Or are they messages? Or are they future? There's so many different arguments for that, and that's so intriguing. What have you come upon with that? Like, if they're not dreams?
I've heard that there are actually visitations back on the other side.
Ooh, that's getting me chills because that's the stuff that I study. Yeah.
I have had certain dreams.
I love the idea of it.
Because I know at one point I was associated with Atlantis. And I've had certain dreams where I go into these cities with these very unusual buildings. The structures would defy gravity here.
Physics as we know it is changing day to day right now.
And people seem to be dressed in certain garb that is not typical for us, and they seem to be walking with a purpose into these buildings. It's like, okay, I seem to know this place, and yet I'm filled with some kind of excitement while I'm there.
Yeah.
And I remember, you may have done this before too, technology and dreams. Technology and dreams do not mix.
No.
Because I remember walking away from this city, and I said, oh man, I got to talk to this person about this. So I pull out my phone, and the screen is all scrambled, and I'm going, what is this? How come I can't talk to this person? Hello? What's wrong with my phone? It's like, no, this is not something you're going to be able to sit there and relay to somebody else. This is your own personal experience.
or whatever, but I feel like sometimes that's what I've done.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, like
it's
that's
just amazing.
so one of the things that I've like found myself in the last like year and a half or so, like those random things that show up, especially as a researcher and a studier of these things, near-death experiences.
Oh.
Right? And so those types of things, oh, that's so mind-blowing. And like my little brother, he was in a horrible car accident last year, and he's told me about some dreams and stuff about like this monk figure that was like sitting in a tree, and he said it was me and him that like walked up this guy and he told us these things and stuff like that, and he lost consciousness whenever they were hit. I mean, honestly, it's a miracle that he survived. It broke his skull, so many things, but he's great now. Like, things are great, and he still deals with some stuff, but he had some things that he saw while he was unconscious that is pretty intriguing. And other people that I've asked, like, if I hear, like, it might sound very, we're like on the main highway, so sorry.
Yeah.
It's a great location for a yoga studio, though. But, like, one of those things that it might sound very awful of me, and I don't ever mean it to be, but I hear somebody that was like, had something happen and they nearly died or whatever. I'm always like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that you're great and everything, but in my head, I'm like, okay, I want to get through this, like, thing that I feel like I have to do so I can ask, what did you see?
Yes.
It's so terrible.
What's your experience?
But I heard some pretty creepy stuff, and I'm like, ooh, what is this? That's a whole other thing. Dreams and your death experiences and like that. All of that. I mean, and then you pull in all the other alternative stuff. It's just.
And I was led into that, and it was really kind of weird. Here again, the universe has a reason, but I haven't figured this one out yet. Why I am so attracted to near-death experiences. I was at this house, and I have a house cleaning business as well. And I had a customer who had, if you like near-death experience, you're probably familiar with this book. It's almost like the classic book, Embraced by the Light by Betty Eden. Everybody knows about that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's pretty interesting too.
Yes. And I pulled that book out, and I was kind of scanning it and looking at it. Oh, this is kind of interesting. And I put it back on the shelf. Didn't think anything else about it. Had another opportunity at another house, same book. What's the chances this person having that there too? Okay, I'm seeing. I really got to look into getting this book, obviously. Put it back on the shelf.
Do that.
Finally, I go to Barnes and Noble. And I'm perusing the bargain section.
Love it.
What do I find in the bargain section?
That's awesome.
$5 or something. I said, yeah, okay, I get it. I'll get the book, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just got so into it that I got all of her books. I mean, she wrote about 3 or 4 books there, and I got the whole series of it. I even looked into her newsletters. Then I found about Daniel. What was his name? I'm trying to think of it. But
Big person I'm going to
Daniel, you guys out there probably know who the heck I'm talking about, but anyway.
This is why when I do this, I want to give you live plans.
Yeah, the sides over there screaming.
And I've got, I guess my friend, I'm going to have her, like, her or him probably both like, Googling things. Like, hey, can you look this up for me? I just need to think about it.
But I can envision it's kind of like those game shows where, you know, somebody's stuck on this question and people in the audience go,
Family Feud.
so somebody's probably over there thinking, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Damian Brinkley, that's his name.
Okay.
Damian Brinkley.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyway, and he had near-death experiences, so I started reading his books. I got the movie that goes along with it, but I cannot understand why I'm so attracted to near-death experiences when I know, at least I think I know, I didn't have one myself.
I was going to ask how you have one.
That's I'm thinking, I know I had some serious illnesses when I was a kid. Who knows?
Same here. Yeah. I don't know if I've personally ever had one. But I mean, I know that I almost died as a kid when I had cancer, about 4. I don't really remember that. Now, my mom has told me stories about some stuff that happened even before I was born. That is pretty wild. And then when I was in the hospital, she said something about me swinging on a swing. And I was swinging up really high. I was 4. I didn't know how to, like, take my legs and make myself swing high. And she's like, well, yeah, who pushed you? Like, somebody had to have pushed me. And I said, I don't know. It's some guy, I think it was Jesus. and there wasn't nobody around at all. And so that's just one of those stories that she's told me and everything. And I'm like, I don't remember having like one of those near-death experiences where you like go to that other dimension and you meet that your spirit guide or all these different things that I hear of. But I'm like, oh, I wouldn't remember it. I was 4, but I don't know this.
Now you were too young, like this, to have a life review, like I've heard about all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
And they say typically when people have near-death experiences, they come back with psychic skills.
Yeah.
So, don't think I've got that. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, like with the tarot card and all that stuff, like me being so fond of this metaphysical stuff and like why I want to figure out what's going on and share that information and stuff. I'm like, well, maybe I don't remember having one of those like technical near-death experiences stuff but maybe there was this idea concept that I've come across and I think it's interesting that your soul aligns in this lifetime or whatever, because this is that final chance to push these things into existence, and so all of it kind of comes together. So you have these things where we might not have that near-death experience that kind of wakes us up because it happened young, and it starts bringing it all into focus. I don't know about all of that entirely, but it's an interesting concept because it's like, well, there's got to be some reason that I'm drawn to wanting to study this and write these books and share this information and stuff. So,
well, I'm going to go out on a line and suppose that if we did have one, or we were just that ill that possibly we were out of our bodies for a while.
Right.
We probably were given information at that time.
Subconsciously. Maybe.
Yeah, we were given that information, and that's why our lives took the path that we're on right now. It didn't happen right away.
I need to write like a book about how my life even wound up to this point. It's really wild.
Yeah, it is. It is. This is like, okay, why? And then sometimes I say, as well as other people, if they've ever had the kind of parents I had, the experience I had, and they were always telling you, okay, we signed up for this. We said, we looked at these prospective parents and we looked at this kind of life and said, okay, I want this, I'm going to do this, and I'm thinking to myself, was that crazy? Because my mother was, and then I had more horrible experiences happening, and I'm going, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But we did that for a reason.
And people that don't know about that concept, the idea of that we decided to be here, we are a divine being, we decided to live in this lifetime to have this purpose or to have these experiences to learn these things that we need to learn. Like we've picked all of our other lifetimes because if you believe in that, because people who are going to watch us don't really understand these ideas. But if you believe that you have a purpose and that you picked this life, then you also chose other lives. And that you've learned messages, you've learned lessons through those, and you chose this, and you have like your soul group of people, then you kind of have these soul contracts, like you're my friend up here, like say you're angels in heaven, just to give them a basis. But you like have your friends that you're like, okay, well, you're gonna like steal from me. You're going to break my heart as my best friend and like lie to me or whatever. You're going to, and you make these contracts with these people, but then you get here in this lifetime and you don't know any of that. You're living and learning that, and then once you pass on and move from this body, your soul goes to heaven or whatever you believe in, whatever that is. But then you like, oh yeah, no, I chose all that. Like it's nothing at that point. So for people that don't understand that concept, like, because I like to believe that idea. I think that there's a lot of reasons for a lot of that. I believe in the whole like past life thing and all that stuff. That's me putting myself out there. Like a lot of people that know me, that's like stuff that I'm afraid to hear. It's like, oh, now you're a crazy person. And I'm kind of learning to embrace my crazy.
Well, I'm going to recommend to everybody a wonderful story that we were talking about. The contracts we made between our soul group. There is have you ever heard of Neil Donald Walsh? He wrote the series of books called Conversations with God.
Now, I've heard that, but I don't think I tied those two things.
Yeah, because he wrote those books. Matter of fact, there was a movie actually made of it. I have all these interesting movies in my house. I haven't get to watch them. But anyway, he also wrote a children's book. He actually wrote 2 children's books. The second one I don't think did as near as well as the first one, but it was called The Little Soul in the Sun. And I actually found it at Barnes & Noble. Of course, they don't carry it anymore. But it's about a little soul that wanted to find his purpose in the world, and he did not know how to go about doing it because, God said everybody was special, so he's happy he's special. Well, how am I special? I don't know, And so it's like he's having a conversation with God, literally, and trying to find out what his purpose is. And he decided he wanted to come in with the purpose of forgiving. All right now, we're forgive. But you're in this perfect environment, and everybody else out there is shining bright little souls, just like you, and it's like, okay, how do you forgive? I know what I want to do, so how do you forgive? So what am I going to do that somebody has to forgive me for? And this other little bright soul comes up and she says, I'll help you with that. She says, I'm going to do something in this lifetime with you, something very bad. And he said, you would do that for me? You, the beautiful, bright person you are. And it's because she loves him so much that she's going to help him fulfill, the purpose that he wants to be. I want to be special and learning to forgive. And she says, I'm going to do something really dark and really mean that you're going to have to forgive me for. But she said, whatever you do me a favor. Never ever forget who I really am and who you are. Which that's impossible because once we get it, we forget all that.
Cross the rainbow bridge.
Yeah. And you're just going to see that person as somebody evil. And so I keep that in the back of my mind anytime I see somebody do something heinous. Well, they contracted to do that. Probably for the purpose of having somebody else be more understanding, compassionate, forgiving, or whatever. They're actually assisting somebody to fulfill their purpose as well.
And that's like, I feel like I do that, and I don't mean to, and I try, when it comes to really big deal stuff, I do try to keep that in the back of my head. It's a beautiful idea, and I love it, but I'm always a very disgusting optimist, and I believe the best out of everybody. I think that humans are innately good, and that we just get a little screwed up on the way, and that people are amazing, and I'm so happy and positive about everything. And I've had so many people in my life how are you this happy? There are so many bad people in this world. There's so many bad things in this world, negative. And I'm like, but this. I'm always that person because I feel like I innately have believed that ever since I was a kid. It's just always been a thing. I'm always just this happy person. And I know I drive some people crazy about it, and I don't apologize at all. Because that's the way that you have to hold on to that. You have to know who you truly are. And be okay with that, number one. That, getting to know your true self and being okay with who you truly are, because that's been part of my journey and stuff is being okay with oh, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I want to do, and then being okay with that and not worrying about being judged about it. That was a personal thing that I've had to overcome and grow with. And then now also, on top of that, remembering who everybody else is and believing that they are this good, amazing person, and they just had some life experience that screwed them up, or they decided to choose this and appear in my life in that way or something. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, and I think that thought process, that mentality is one of those world-changing types of mentality. If everybody could just believe that a little bit, it'd be great. But no, people are no, Memphis is dangerous. There are bad people that are around here. You should never go anywhere by yourself.
Don't trust anybody.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going to set myself up for better.
No. And my husband, he is very much the opposite of me. He's very pessimistic, very negative in nature, and it just drives me nuts. But he's always one of those people that's glued to the TV, watching 10 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, the 4 o'clock news. If there's a 2 o'clock news, he'll watch that too. And I'm saying, I don't want to watch that stuff. It's just negative propaganda. They want you to believe that stuff. Well, the real news is not even being told. But
It works.
I've always had the thought that whatever you focus on, you're just going to bring into being.
Yeah.
focus on that.
Like all the time. And my dad isn't even one of those. Again, he's a pastor, and like not one of those people. I remember from ever since I was a kid, he would always say like, "Oh, don't speak it into existence." Like, Dad, where the heck did you get that? Like, you don't do any of this stuff. And like, I remember that when I was a little tiny kid. And he would always say that. Well, you don't remember that stuff. Because I think I said it back to him one time. He's like, "What are you talking about your woo-woo crazy yoga stuff?" And I'm like, "Dad, that's me using one of your dadisms that you like." And he was like, "I didn't ever say that." Like, "Oh, yes, you did all the time." But yeah, like don't what you focus on can become your reality.
Yeah.
You involve yourself in all this. So if that's a true thing, or if not, regardless, surrounding yourself with positivity is only beneficial. So it's not gonna.
A while back, I used to be part of this program that Memphis did, and they probably still do, but I'm just not doing it anymore, where you would get these letters from the post office from these people who are in dire straits. And, they would have like this Christmas wish letters. These were like Dear Santa letters from these people from very poor poverty areas. And I would select, one or two of them. Of course, I had to be very careful because some of them, they may not really be what they seem.
Right.
But you can usually tell which ones are sincere. And a lot of these families lived in areas you really would not want to go into at night, and that disturbed my husband for one thing, some of these places really took you into the projects, homes, places like that. But I would always tell him, I said, "Carl, stop worrying. Just stop worrying." And then I would pray with him, invokes Michael to be our protector there. And it's like he would go into these areas during the daytime. He said, "You wouldn't believe the scum that would be out in the street, the leery looking people." He said, "I don't know about this stuff at night. It's bound to be worse." But when we go there at night, you would not see it seem so like that.
That's interesting.
Nobody. I mean, the place was just calm and peaceful at night. And I said, "Carl, do you not believe in the power of prayer?
Right.
When you ask for protection, do you think that you would not receive that?" And so I did not worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't really worry about it either. Me being an analytical non-believer for the longest time, just like, it's like, no, on the analytical side of it, I'm like, out of the billions of people in the world, like, okay, Jamie would always just be like, "You're going to be a statistic." Like, do you want to be a statistic? Because I'm always going and doing something random off by myself, whether it's hiking in the woods in the middle of nowhere or something proverbially stupid. Like, I put myself there. I don't care. Like, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, out of the millions of people, the chances of it happening to me is this big. I'll take that risk. It's cool. This is fine. And nothing's ever happened, so that's fine. And he's like, "Yeah, but that one time." No, it's okay. And it's like, so whether it's belief or the power of prayer, or belief in the statistical probability part of it, regardless, it's like, it's still that positivity thing, like just surrounding yourself with that, like, I don't know, I feel like it all works in the end. So, I don't know.
If it works, and that's what I've seen so far, there's truth to it. There's truth to it.
Absolutely. And I'm like trying to see on the screen like how long we've been speaking. I don't even know. But this is exactly this is better than I would have hoped for this, like our conversations. I love talking with you anyway. I don't know, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we get into
Well,
I mean, obviously promoting the workshops.
The workshops,
yeah.
That's true. And, going along the same vein, as I have mentioned before, when you are supposed to do something, your path is pretty much something you agreed on. When that door of opportunity opens, you step through, and you'll find that the universe conspires, whatever, to allow these things to happen. And these workshops, obviously, it's become my passion.
I love to talk about it. It's just like I go into a different mode when I do this, and people enjoy the workshops because I impart so much information that they previously did not know about frequencies, solfeggios, codes, hidden secrets, things like that. And what I'm finding people wanting to know now is how to apply these different frequencies to their healing protocols as practitioners. And as I said, I do a practice myself, energy healing practice, if you want to call it that. It's not like Reiki, but it's something similar on the lines where Reiki works on the entire body, working on the meridians, the body, removing the blockages, and sending healing energy through the body. What I do is something akin to, and actually it was based on it, and I just kind of took it a little step further. It's called the Oneness Blessing. In India, it is known as Diksha, where you are focusing on the mind, because the mind is what causes us to create the chaos we have. We create those beliefs that we have where I'm not good enough, and I'm not able to do this, self-talk, self-destruction, whatever. And the creator of this Diksha blessing, which really and truly is not a very old ancient art. It was actually created in the 80s by a young boy who was able to tap into this golden ball, this golden light of healing. And his father said, okay, well, you need to be able to hand these to other people, this healing energy that you're witnessing. And the only thing he could think of was to do it by hands on the head and allowing himself to become that channel, just like in Reiki, allowing them to become that conduit. A friend of mine called it a hollow reed. I love how she says that. But those energies flow through him into them, to the person that's sitting before him. Now in India, of course, their culture is much different. They're very attuned to gods, goddesses there, things that we don't do here. But people would experience instant enlightenment there. It removed those ego blocks, those self-doubt blocks, whatever, and they experienced enlightenment there. They would see their gods, their various gods and goddesses there. Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder if, like how we talk about the belief factor, the person that you're laying hands on, like, I mean, in Christian religion, lay hands on prayer and stuff, and the whole idea of standing in the gap for somebody when it comes to prayer and stuff. I wonder if it's you're being the belief for them, and that allows you to be that channel. That was just like an idea, and I'm like, that's weird and cool, like weird in a cool way, like not that weird. But I wonder if that allows you to be that channel, is your belief, and then it allows them to open. I'm just curious, and I'm just like, my mind's a little crazy.
Well, now listen, that sort of thing happens in India.
Yeah.
Here we're not going to experience that much, but it is amazing what does happen. And I asked Jen, who was the one that taught me how to do this, and it does not require a bunch of courses and expensive. Each course in Reiki, level 1, level 2, it's a very expensive course. This really didn't. It was very simplistic. You didn't have to read books. You didn't have to study anything. You just allowed it to happen, And I had asked Jen, I said, well, do you say anything, while you're doing this? Because all I'm seeing them doing is just calling in the angels, the archangels, ascended masters to be with you, and to allow them to know, because you don't know what that person's interest or their need is. Right. You allow them to do the work. But I had asked, I said, well, does the practitioner ever carry on a conversation with these angels or ascended masters or anything like that? She said, well, I don't know, not typically, but I do.
I have a little running
Yeah.
dialogue with them, prayer, if you will, and I always ask for whatever this person needs, that you fulfill it for them, to their highest good or whatever. And I receive at least a lot of energy when I do this, because I can feel the energy flowing through me. And then, like I told you before, sometimes I get that little jolt, the person verbally says, "Were you all right? No, what's going on with that?" So there's just a little energy jolt, it's just that connection, whatever going on. But the person sometimes will have something happen. Because I don't believe in energy that just stay at the energy. Something is going to happen whether you realize it or not. If it's not instantaneous, something's happening up to you on a cellular level. But I was first doing this in a church, in a unity church, and people would come into the bath, and if they would, sometimes you had to go, "Hey, would you like to have a blessing? Would you like to have a blessing?" Sometimes people are just very reluctant to go back there. And I remember there was a time when there's a man and a woman came back there, and the woman sat down and had their blessing first, And when I got done with it, I stepped back and said, "Namaste. The God within me recognizes the God within you." And then she turns to her husband, her boyfriend, I'm not really sure who he was, and she said, "You've got to get one of these." And he had already formed this opinion of his own. I practice spiritual my own way, whatever she's going to do, it's not going to work for me. Big chip on the shoulder kind of thing, And I'm going, okay, why am I doing this? Okay, well, I'm just going to go along with it, And so I did the blessing. You just kind of lay your hands on her head just for, just a few minutes, maybe, a couple of minutes or so, something like that. And then you step back, like I said, you do the namaste thing. And after I was done doing him, I looked up after I did the namaste, and his eyeballs got big as saucers. And it was like he was in stupor. He got up very slowly and he said, "Oh my God, I just got a message."
What?
And he just kind of walked off. I'm like,
it's like, "You're welcome. Can you come back and tell me what it was?"
what just happened? And I have found ever since then, some people actually do have messages, visions, things of that nature.
Like, sign me up.
I have expanded since then where I have used crystals, and that's why I call my blessing Tones and Stones now.
Cool.
Tones and Stones released a piece. I incorporate, now this is, what happened with him was back when I just did this, But I also do a meditation with people where I have them visualize the light going through them into different parts of their body and envisioning certain things happening at that point. And saying some affirmations and such, and then I put my hands on the head. And now I use first I used real nice music, New Age music, but since I found out about the Solfeggio Tones, I incorporate that very first one, 396, and it's called the Open Door, where it addresses all the very basic of emotions, the very basic fear-based emotion of shame and guilt, because everybody's dealing with that on some level. And so I have, the little repeat button where it just goes over and over and over again during the whole blessing. And invariably, everyone walks away saying, something, that was the most peaceful thing I've ever experienced.
Wow.
I almost feel myself walking on a cloud right now.
Well, I have people that say that too after even a yoga session. So I'm not saying every time you go and do a yoga class that you're going to get something from it, like on that level. But I mean, I've had people just have these interesting experiences, whether it's during the middle of their flow and they break down and cry in the middle of their mat, and they're like, "I don't know where it's coming from." I'm like, if that happens, I don't know. It's I don't even have answers for you, but there's because with yoga they say that it's in Sanskrit, yoga is a union of the mind, body, and spirit. And a yoga practice is meant to tear apart the mind from the body, from the spirit, and work with them all individually. And then when you're lying in Shavasana, it allows all three of them to come back into one and give you what you've learned from it. So a lot of times people will have these visions or messages or something while they're laying there with their eyes closed or whatever, or when they get up and they walk out and they're just like, oh, something's happened, something's different. You know, it's not an every time thing. It's just every now and then there's something there. Like you're accessing these different parts of your psyche of you that you wouldn't have ever accessed before, and so that's phenomenal. So you, how do people sign up for that kind of stuff?
Well, there's no signing up basically, and then I've kind of had to shift from place to place because for whatever reason, somebody will quit doing it from here or there. So right now I am going on Thursday evenings, or every other Thursday evening at a person's home.
Okay.
The Turtle House, which is run by Rita I'm not real sure how you say her name. Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
But anyway, she has like a Reiki share type of thing there. And like some of these other places, I even for a short while did it at a pagan place.
Yeah.
Pagan temple. They were open to all forms of healing because they said, Reiki is not the only way. You have other forms of healing.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely going to speak for both me and Libby with your inner yogi and say that we would absolutely open it up to having you do that and stuff here often. I mean, we've only been open for a month now, and we're trying to, obviously as a business, we're trying to build up people coming, knowing that we exist, knowing that we're here. But as a location downtown and stuff, we want to expand, especially if people see this and they're curious about these types of things, about your workshop, about your practices, about your healing stuff. Definitely want to get them in contact with you. So because I'm going to help you with finding people to get website and online kind of connection set up. So until then, feel free to contact me through Facebook or our Your Inner Yogi page, and I'll definitely put you in contact with the right person.
Okay, that would be great because, like I said, I feel what I'm doing is I'm a pioneer in this field.
Yeah.
People have no clue what this is about, but when they find out how powerful this is, miraculous that these healings from these tones are, this is the next step forward. We know that modern medicine, drugs, whatever, is not the answer.
Yeah, that's just fixing the symptoms.
Yeah, that's putting a Band-Aid on things, and they are not interested in healing anyway.
Right.
They're interested in their pocketbook. Yes, they're interested in their pocketbook. But if we go back to the ancient ways of healing, the things that were tried and true, whether we're talking about the Native American herbals or even Atlantean technology.
I feel like it's all a combination of all of those.
Yes, and some places are actually doing what's called complementary medicine, where they're taking the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And combining
And I
them.
feel like you have to do that at some point because, there are some things like diabetes. You can't just get off of insulin. You will die or have something happen. Okay, maybe some people can, and there's something awesome happens. And for the most part, you would have to keep doing some insulin. And I only know diabetes, I have some family suffers with diabetes on so many levels. But that's one of those things. You would have to complement that insulin therapy with the diet change, with the exercise, with the introduction of all these things in order to actually cure it, rather than just taking insulin. Oh, you ate a ton of sugar. Just up your insulin that day. It's fine. You're not fixing anything.
No,
not at all.
You're adding to the problem.
Yeah.
Why is it when your sugar level goes low, they say, oh, well, you need to eat a candy bar or orange juice, and that thing is loaded with so much sugar. Well, isn't that what started your problem to begin with?
There's a lot of things. You've got type 1 and type 2 with it. I could go on and on, but I like the complementary therapy things.
Yeah.
Because some things you can't just fix, and you can't just 100%. Because modern medicine and science and everything has discovered so many things that are amazing, that are powerful, that we would have never been able to do. But I think you got to have both. Same with science and religion, same with medicine and naturalist medicine, or whatever it might. I don't know if there's even a term for
That's probably.
But those things.
Yeah, but I'm like, if you break your leg, you're still gonna have to go to the doctor.
Okay, you're gonna have to like set that.
You have that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if you have an accident, like I did one time, where I poked a hole in my lung, you know, well, obviously you're gonna need to go to a doctor.
For sure, yeah. You can't just believe that's gonna heal itself. Like, maybe. But you should probably go see a doctor.
Yeah, it's most advisable.
And I feel like that's beneficial for us because we're not like on that level of crazy. Like maybe we're believable, like whenever we talk about those things, because we're not just completely crazy. Like no, we're realistic. We're real people. We know that but that's what sharing this information is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And there are many people out there that are already on board with this.
Exactly.
They like the confirmation. They like to hear it from other sources. And here again, we just do research, like what you said, you know, things that I mentioned to you. And now look into that.
Yeah, that's what I got my look up at. I'm always just like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. You're like, this. Well, awesome. Well, this has been phenomenal. Thank you guys for watching. First ever podcast or video cast. I don't know what to call it, but this is the thing that I have talked about doing for a long time, years, and I'm finally going to start doing it. And it all just kind of happened, very unplanned, but very, very blessed to have been able to have this conversation with Lolita and share it with all you guys. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions or need anything, absolutely follow me on Facebook. I'm probably going to launch my website and everything here in the next couple of weeks. I've been building it. So this is just the beginning. But you can always go to yourinneryogi.com. That's where we're at. This is our yoga studio that me and Olivia Campo opened just last month. So you can go there, Leah Floyd on Facebook. I'll probably have some links in the comment section when I figure out how to share this stuff via YouTube and stuff. And let's see, is there any other contact info for me? Just like probably just your inner yogi or Facebook right now. Go with those routes, and then we'll go from there in the future.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't have a website yet. I just now got the internet. I live in a very rural area of town.
Tennessee, man.
Yeah. So, you know, this is kind of new to me. I will eventually get a
And then
email
that's
address.
share that with all of you.
Yeah, I'll get an email address or whatever, and, you know, like I said, share it with you so that you can find out. And that way I can, you know, put out my own information so that when I am getting workshops underway that people.
Oh yeah, and we're absolutely like follow Your Inner Yogi on Facebook and stuff because we are going to have her come back probably June or July. We're going to talk about this afterwards. Do more of the Solfeggio Tone workshop here in the studio. She has speakers and everything. It looks really cool back there. So definitely sign up for that. It's really not expensive at all. Like $25 for the 3-hour workshop. So
yeah, it's 3 hours right now.
think about what you pay for college and what you learn, honestly, in comparison. So I'm just saying. But no, we're gonna do a whole lot of stuff. So follow us and I'll share more information as we have it. And we're also probably gonna continue having conversations. And last thing, if you know anybody that has any of this type of stuff that wants to come in or would like to come and chat with me about some pretty crazy stuff, please send them my way. You can just email us at teamyiy@gmail.com. That's the Your Inner Yogi team thing. So we can set up an interview, podcast type of idea, or just shoot me a message on Facebook. That's gonna be where I started all, and we'll go from there. But you guys have an awesome day. Enjoy the last bit of April, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.